and welcome to the Non-Perfect Parents Club podcast special episodes with me, Emma. These episodes are aimed to keep us in the know, covering topics that we want to understand or know more about. I will be joined by special guests who are going to help us be informed. As always, no judgment allowed, but expect honesty, truth, and a whole load of support. Hello and welcome back to the Non-Perfect Parents Club podcast season 2. Today I'm very excited to have a fairy join me on the podcast, and one who I've been told is, quote, brilliant. Hello Kelly, the Reading Fairy, and welcome to the podcast. I am and always have been a bookworm, and reading is something that I've always promoted to all the children in my life, so I am really looking forward to this episode. But I'm sure Kelly is going to tell us about how reading is much more than just picking up a book.
Thank you very much.
Over to you, Kelly.
Thank you for having me on as well. One thing I really want to make sure I do today, because I've listened to all the other ones.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Big fan. Is to make sure that I give information that will help parents at home. So every time I've listened to something, I've kind of learned something. And that's what I want. Like really good, to have a takeaway. Yeah. I think that's amazing. A really important message that you're giving people and the opportunity to do that. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining me.
You're welcome. So my name is Kelly and I currently run Reading Fairy. Prior to that, I was a primary school teacher. A little scarily. I worked out how long I'd been working with children because I did like a BTEC and things.
Yeah.
20 years this year. 20 years this year. Have been working with children. And the last 4 years, I've been running my own business. So I run sessions for children 1 to 4, sort of starting school, with their parents to come along, have fun and play, and to develop all those vital early reading skills. Yeah. So our programme is the full package. So some people think reading is looking with a book, or perhaps if you've got a child at school, the phonics aspect. One of those aspects on its own wouldn't teach your child to read. So the idea of the programme is it's the full package, the full works. You get everything you need to give you a really strong foundation. So we have 5 characters who help do this. Okay. And if it's okay with you, we're going to talk about the characters.
No problem. I think I know a couple.
I thought about bringing them, but some people think I'm a bit weird bringing my teddies. But to be fair, the children think they are friends. Yeah. So that is the beauty of the characters as well. The children have a bit of ownership with them and build that bond, so they learn without realising. So the first person is our music mouse. She likes to sing, she likes to dance, and she does a lot about nursery rhymes. And I think sort of the younger your child is, you perhaps do sing nursery rhymes. And I think as your child gets older, it perhaps feels a bit babyish and you don't. Yeah. And I want to say, keep singing those nursery rhymes.
And do you know, I don't want to put you off or anything.
No.
Something that always does surprise me, I think, because like you, I did a BTEC, I was a nursery practitioner. So nursery rhymes were like second nature to us, weren't they? Like we knew them all. But it's actually surprising how many parents don't know that many nursery rhymes.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So remember your nursery rhymes.
Yeah. So with the classes, I have 3 different ages, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and 3 to 4. Yeah. They all do Music Mouse, but every session will be different. So there is a slight progression with the nursery rhymes and the skills we're developing. The younger children, we're looking at lots of action songs that are perhaps familiar with, building that vocabulary. And then as they get older, perhaps do less familiar ones and develop different aspects of our bodies while we're doing nursery rhymes. So things like Incy Wincy Spider, as you're moving your fingers, the children are actually developing their muscle tone as they're doing that. And I could sing the same nursery rhyme to all 3 of those ages, and every time I'd notice something different that a child's developed.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah. So things like Sleeping Bunnies, you start with them sitting and perhaps doing a little shoulder bounce. Oh, sorry, I'm demonstrating now. A little shoulder bounce. Then the up bouncing, but one foot is always on the ground. Then you've got to kind of get in the air. Yeah. And then before they go to school, they're hopping on one leg. So one nursery rhyme might seem really babyish, but actually all the way through they're developing different skills. And nursery rhymes are a really good way of developing what we call the fine motor skills, so your finger muscles.
Yeah.
You need really strong finger muscles to be able to hold a pencil.
Yeah.
And sort of without realising it, children through nursery rhymes are doing that. And they're also fantastic for teaching you vocabulary. So after lockdown, my friend was in stitches. She said my daughter was like really old fashioned, the words she used, and I'm like, I don't talk like that. Like, I don't know where. And then when she was saying words, my friend was like, oh, like this word and this word. I was like, oh my gosh, that's nursery rhymes. Because they are, sometimes a little bit older.
Yeah.
But they apparently learned to take Toy Posh. Because it wasn't me. At all. And nursery rhymes are also our first stories. So they've got a beginning, middle and an end. So, a child, sort of a newborn, sort of 3 months, isn't perhaps old enough or wouldn't perhaps listen to a story. But a nursery rhyme, you've got a story right from day one there.
I like that. It's a really good, really nice point, that,
And the beauty of them, because they're so repetitive, the children join in with those repetitive bits and get the language. That's not to say with songs like Baby Shark, obviously, isn't a traditional nursery rhyme, but the same thing, they're using the fingers, so they're getting those actions.
And I think as a parent, that repetitiveness is sometimes like,
I know.
But it is actually really good for them, isn't it?
It is. As a parent, it's painful. My daughter is one who sits in the swing and will sing. And she will sit in the swing for hours with me pushing, giving half a chance. So I am fully aware that repetitive nature can send you a little bit bonkers. But for children, it's what they need.
Yeah.
It is generally what they need. And the beauty of nursery rhymes is you can be anywhere. You don't need any equipment.
Yeah.
So if you're in a traffic queue or stuck in the in the supermarket in a queue, you can sing nursery rhymes. You don't have to worry if your phone's got battery, if you've got Wi-Fi. You can entertain with just yourself.
Yeah.
And actually singing them yourself is really good developmentally, because children can sort of... A nursery rhyme on a CD would be quite a fast pace, perhaps, whereas you can change the pace. So I might do head, shoulders, knees and toes with a younger class, and I'm very, very slow, so they've got time to find the body parts. The older children will do it quicker and quicker. So you can adapt it. Yeah. It works... it works really, really well.
And nursery rhymes are always my go-to, like if I'm looking after, like when my nephew was younger, or my niece, or any little ones, and if they start crying, it's always like, right, wind the bobbin up, come on, let's Peter Rabbit, the action ones, come on. They usually work, so
that's it.
That's my tip.
I will freely admit, as a reception teacher, I perhaps didn't sing nursery rhymes as much. It's coming out of education and starting with those younger children that you think, oh gosh, they are so important. Things like children will count backwards quite often before they count forwards. And that's things like 5 speckled frogs, soon we're going to the moon. You've kind of got everything, the full package in a nursery rhyme. Amazing Museum House.
Amazing.
Our next one is Phonic Fox. So again, in classes they are different for the different ages. So the 1 to 2s, we do start introducing phonics, but we do an animal a week. So things like we might have a crocodile, a dolphin. We look at that animal and we look at the sound it makes. So the very first stage of phonics, they call it phase 1 phonics, is hearing sounds when you're out and about and hearing animal sounds. So if you can match a quack, quack, quack to a duck, that's your first sort of aspect of phonics. So those 1 to 2-year-olds are doing that with the animals, with giant puppets and that sort of thing, which they love.
And that's something, isn't it, that like I'm sure many parents that are listening will just do that automatically and not even realise what there is behind that in terms of like learning. Sort
of the animals, and if you're out and about and you hear an ambulance and you sort of say, oh, it's an ambulance or a Nino or whatever you might call it, that's the first part of phonics. So it's like a massive tick. And then we've got our 2 to 3-year-olds who have a look at the animal as well, but they also look at one object that it matches. So today I've done for rabbit and then for rainbow. We have a look at lots of things that might begin with that sound. So red, ring, and children might shout some things out, their names, that sort of thing. And then the older children, so these are children just before they start school, 3 to 4, we do it in the government order. So the other classes I do alphabetically. This one we do in the government order, which starts with the sounds that you hear more commonly in words. So it's at, in is the first 6. You're not, obviously. We're working with the kids at home.
My youngest she's year 2 now, so we've just kind of gone through.
Yeah.
We're just kind of coming out the other side of the... So it's, thinking, oh God.
It can, to a parent, it can seem a bit daft starting with those letters, but actually means they can automatically read so many words: sat, sit, pin, pat. They've got a bank before they learn like ABC, which doesn't always match up.
No.
And the beauty of our classes is because parents or carers stay with them, the parents are learning those at the same time. So things like X, its phonic sound is X.
Yeah. I was doing this with my mum, I think it was it last week or the week before, so we were going through some phonics with my nephew, and my mum was like, what's X? And I'm like, X.
Which sounds really tough, but if you hear in words like 6 or box or fox, you can hear that.
It does make sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just a different way than perhaps we've been taught, grandparents have been taught, and that sort of thing, but it does really work.
Yeah.
And the beauty is you come and learn it together, which when I was teaching was always a thing at parents' evening. It would be the parents saying they come home, they're talking about this.
Yeah.
How do I? What does it sound like? What do I do? And obviously you're learning with your child. Schools use all the technical language from day 1 in reception, things like digraphs, so that's 2 letters making one sound. We do all that sort of thing, so hopefully it's sort of stored in your bank somewhere that when they come to school you've got it.
That's really good.
And like you say, it's super easy to do at home as well. Like you said, when you hear animals or sounds and matching as well, sort of when you're at home, or can you go and find your red jumper, your blue coat, that sort of thing. One thing that I always recommend to the children starting school this sort of in September, the preschoolers, is parents doing what they call sound talk or blending a little bit at home. Things like, can you go and put your rubbish in the bin? If you talk like that and do it in a context, they found it easier to hear it. Hearing those sounds and putting them orally into words is the first start of reading, and it gives them such a good head start to school if they can already sort of have that listening ear, really. And being in a sentence like that means they're more than likely to sort of achieve that skill. So things like go and wash your hands at the tap. It's just a different way of saying the question. You would have said it anyway, but the children are getting that early phonics from that. Makes so much sense. It's just a different way of thinking, isn't it?
And I think something that I found from like speaking to parents and stuff is that because we didn't do phonics,
that's it.
So many parents don't even know about the phonics, and like I know sometimes they've tried to like help them and they've taught them the alphabet and your ABCD, and it doesn't work like that anymore, does it?
So you do need to know like what they call the letter names, so your ABC. But especially at the start, it's more the sounds. And to be honest, things like alpha blocks on the telly is actually really good. That's how a lot of parents will say, oh, they've loved alpha blocks, I think you're going to be a programme for us. And because you're watching it with your child, you are learning.
You're picking up,
at the same time. And it just, little bits just help. Just helps.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Even just any little bits, it all pieces together for the child,
doesn't it? So, and it's not feeling so much when you go to school that something's new. Because they've kind of been talking that way at home, or used to sort of finding the letter that starts their name. And sort of other things that start with that letter and that sort of thing. Then we have the main lady herself, our reading fairy. And she is our sensory performance storyteller.
Wow.
So we go on a story adventure without a book, which the children love. So the idea is we're acting it out right from the 1-year-olds. Obviously there's 3, I'll have themes. So for example, like the farm, but there'll be 3 different stories, all targeted just for that age of that child. What they need to achieve with their language, what they need to achieve with their muscle skills, their development, the amount of repetitive phrases it's got in, that sort of thing. So it's very clear for the parents there's that progression, but also for the child it's really good in that it's just meeting what they need to meet.
Yeah.
Hitting all those boxes, that sort of thing. So Reading Fairy will go on a story, and something similar perhaps that parents might have heard of is We're Going on a Bear Hunt. So that's a really good one that you can act out.
Yeah.
We can stomp.
I've spent hours around the garden doing that one.
But to be honest, that's the one after lockdown, sort of when I'd bump into people in the park, 'cause I was still doing my classes on Zoom, and they'd be like, oh, you've saved me, we decided we'd go on a walk, and we added, we're going on a duck hunt. When they got to the point they'd stopped wanting to walk, you can add these stories in. Old MacDonald went on a farm, that's another one. So it can be sort of changed to be like the land of the dinosaurs, E-I-E-I-O, the land of the dinosaurs. We do a lot with the weather, so we feel the weather, so you've got that sensory aspect. So we feel the wind, we feel the rain, we have bubbles for like water, waterfalls, rivers, volcanoes, that sort of rainbows that we shape around. So the children are very involved. They're doing lots of actions. This morning I've been doing questions with them. We've had a little funny question, hand gesture that we did. So again, the children think we're playing, but they are getting masses and masses of language skills from it. They're learning stories. You need to, when you're at school, to be able to write a story, you need to be able to say a story. If you can act it out, even better. You've got everything in your head then. So you kind of got those full package of skills again. Sometimes if a child's perhaps not interested in a written book and won't sit for that, acting out with a sensory story works really well. And again, it's one you can do when you're out and about. When you're going for a walk, you might go hunting, or in the car, that sort of thing. Being a little bit daft almost with a story, and showing that they're fun and enjoyable, and it's not necessarily sitting down with a book at a table. You know, we can have fun with these things, which is really, really nice.
Yeah, it is.
It's the one where children learn a lot of actions. Sort of the younger ones might come away. We've done birds. And a parent commented that a son had spotted a bird in the garden. It was only one. Didn't have the language to say bird, but it was doing the little the thing. You know, amazing. So it just opens up that world before you're speaking, that you've got a bit more communication. Wow. So it's lovely. And the children absolutely love that bit. We have a fairy book that opens and it glows for once upon a time in the end. So they're learning all those structures of stories and having a blast while they're doing it. Which is very nice. Then we've got our chat cat, who is our talking and listening character.
I've heard all about this one.
Chat cat is often a favourite. And to be honest, he's the shortest length of time in a session. Because we all know that toddlers and children aren't the best at listening. So the idea is it's short and sweet, but it's a firm favourite with many. So with Chat Cat, we're developing listening skills, talking skills, concentration skills, and as I say, it's short, it's sweet. It's exactly what the children need. We're doing a lot with hearing the sounds in the environment, which we heard earlier was the first stage of phonics. Then the older children, sort of before you start school, we're looking at terms that you'll use when you're at school. Things like bigger, smaller, putting things in order, finding things. The older children have what they call a story map. So it's a written story. So perhaps we've just done, I'm trying to think what I've just done, the green dinosaur in our Reading Fairy. We've acted out the green dinosaur. We've found lush green leaves, we've gone through rivers, waterfalls, climbed a mountain. Then they get a picture copy to take home. That's written, it's just the pictures, and it's written in order, and it's left to right, up and down like you would with a book, and it's also what they'll get when they go to school. So they'll see story maps when they're at school. The programme was written by a lady called Emily, who is like a reading expert, and she actually writes for schools. So the idea is she knows exactly what they need, because she knows what's coming. And it is very cleverly done, so the children generally think they're playing. But they are. they're getting so much.
Yeah.
And like those story maps and things they take home, so they can act it out with the parents.
Aww.
They can act it out with grandparents
Yeah.
or brothers and sisters,
Yeah.
and they generally do.
Yeah.
You know, they do really well. It's black and white, so they can colour it in as well if they want, but there's no pressure too.
Yeah.
It's really, really lovely.
Aww.
And to see your quieter children sort of gaining the confidence in those
yeah.
listening is really, really nice.
Aww.
Really nice. And then our last person is Book Bear, which is probably more who we think of when we say we're a reading fairy class. So that is our sitting down with a book and our growing up.
Yeah.
Again, carefully chosen so that each age has a different book that's right for their development. Sticking to a theme. Like you said about that repetitiveness, we stick with the same book for 3 weeks. Because the more the child hears a story, the more likely to join in or anticipate what's coming.
Yeah.
I know as parents it is painful. My daughter is the worst for having the same book over and over.
Yes. Bedtime story. Can we read this one again? Like, oh, really?
Yeah. She is the worst. But I know it's giving her so much confidence. She's learning this, sentence structure. She's learning patterns of text.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. So
it's even just like recognising them words, isn't it? Like if they already know what the book says, it's them putting it together, isn't it?
Yeah.
And beginning to recognise the words.
And those repetitive books are quite often the ones that parents will say they can't read, but they've just read that book. And it is because they've memorised, which is amazing. And those repeating and repeating, you can perhaps miss odd words out and they can join in, which is something really nice because they're like, oh, I can read, I can read. And to do this one in class, everyone has a bag with a blanket and a bear. So they cuddle up with the grown-up, with their own copy of the story. I read it at the front, parents read along, or perhaps read it at a different pace. And it's just a really nice shared reading time.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah, because quite often when you're at home, you think, I will read a book. And then the phone might ring. Or you want to cook tea or that sort of thing. And it's just giving that time to the sort of the benefits of stories and the enjoyment for the children and the parents. I know my daughter's now at school and it's those times that you generally miss when you're at school because now when she comes home she's tired and it's how quick can I get you to bed
you're
it's
in
not
that routine, aren't you?
It's not the lovely story time. And that one's super easy to do at home. And one thing I wanted to say was about the libraries. So I'm always shocked when I go to the library that there's might only be us there. Yeah. And libraries are just so brilliant because it's free. Yes. You sign up. To be honest, we'd signed up before we registered Amelia for like a birth certificate. Yeah. Purely and simply because they're also breastfeeding.
Oh yes, they are
friendly spaces. So we'd gone into town to register for a birth and we were a bit early. So my friend has said, go to the library.
Oh, wow.
It's that community space.
Yeah.
But every time you go, you get 20 books as a parent, as a child. Yeah. Take home. Keep it for 3 weeks. Renew it online. You don't even have to go in. And I just think how many places can you go to? Yeah. Get something for free every time you go. Some places you go and you get it once. This is every time you go.
They do as well, don't they? I know, like our local libraries, they do the sticker book, don't they? So is it when they return the book or when they take it out?
Yeah, and they get the sticker
and
then
a sticker
10 times and they get a certificate. Yeah. They have challenges on in the holidays. Yeah. So my daughter did the winter one and she got like she had to read 3 books, which was like, can't read books, so we did choose sort of younger aged books with that repetitive phrase, and she's like, I can read books. And you have to draw someone a card, and then she got a lanyard and a little badge. And apparently the idea is the more you do, the more you feel your lanyard. So she thinks she's the teacher now.
It's so good, isn't it? And when I was doing the What's On guide for the website, I went through the libraries just for like the opening times and stuff, and the amount of groups that they put on and activities like you bounce and rhyme, and they do
for the older children they have Lego clubs, scar clubs. There's you could like a Saturday you could probably spend the majority of the day there and not spend a penny.
And it's all free. It's amazing, isn't it, what they offer?
Definitely. They also, so we're in Lancashire. I think a lot of libraries do it, but Lancashire for definite, with your library card you also get free access to Borrow Box, so that's online books. And you can have like a book you'd read on screen or the audio book, and that's for adults and children.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So we've downloaded a lot of the audiobooks if we're going a long car journey.
Yeah.
Things like we just watched Matilda before Christmas. And I'd already read Matilda, but it's a long book, isn't it?
It's a very long book, yeah.
You can get that on BorrowBox.
Yeah.
Save yourself.
Yeah, that's a really good tip.
Yeah. And then it's like a free for two. You get another one. You get a press reader app, which is all your magazines.
Oh, wow.
Your newspapers and magazines.
Mm-hmm.
There's not as many for children.
Yeah.
But there are some, like National Geography does
Oh,
one
yeah.
and that sort of thing. But if you're an adult and you read a magazine or a newspaper, as in a physical copy,
Yeah.
and you're spending X amount each week, even just having that.
They're expensive now,
I know, aren't they? My grandma passes on hers and they're like £3 a magazine, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not even in it. It's all advertising. You could do that for free.
Yeah.
So it's well worth signing up to
Yeah.
that library and taking advantage
Yeah.
of things that are there
Yeah.
for free.
And so to sign, I know you don't work at the library, but to sign, I can't remember now. Do you just go in
Just
and...
literally need proof of your address.
Right.
So a bill.
Yeah.
They don't keep it or anything.
No.
So your driving licence.
Yeah.
Obviously, the children don't need any proof of address. Just you as a.
Yeah.
And the children's books, I can say this because I don't work for the library. You don't get fined for if
No,
you're
you
late.
don't. If you don't return them after quite a few months, you do get sort of banned. But if you take the book back, you get reinstated. So
I missed one. We got like a warning email.
Oh yeah.
But again, nothing happened. You know?
It just, yeah.
It is generally a free one. And the opening times are brilliant.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of ours now stay open until 7 o'clock at night.
Oh really? Oh, that's good.
So sort of if you picked up and wanted to go off to
Yeah.
nursery or that sort of thing, the options
Yeah.
are there. But there are also other ways of getting free books. So Emma successfully set up a community library as well.
Yes. So it was during lockdown, and it was something that I'd wanted to do for ages, and just because we were all at home, I just thought, all right, come on, let's do it. And we basically we started off with what was an old cubed unit, you know, just your IKEA home-based cubes. Put it outside the front with the books, and it just kind of grew from there. So that has now, we've moved house now, so that if you're a local parent, that is in Morecambe on Ellesmere Road. There's another lovely lady who's taken it over. And I actually went on Friday, and it has got some amazing books in there. I had to stop myself. I took a few for the girls, obviously, but there's lots of choice in there. And again, she's got all sorts in there. There's board books right up to like for your teens and stuff.
Yeah, when I went there was like fact books.
Yeah.
And, sort of for younger ones, your flat books, your feely books, they're all in there.
Yeah, and she's got them all organised.
Very neat. There's even reading scheme books. So perhaps over the summer holidays, if your child wants to read sort of when they're at school, they're all in there and in order.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
Yeah. So it's just I think there was, I don't know if there's any other ones local. There was one in Holton.
Yeah, I don't know
if it's still going or not. But usually people kind of have a Facebook page.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
they?
My parents, they live in Cumbria, and there's one that's actually a shed, and it's next to the park. So we coincide. It's really nice. Coincide a park visit and the books, and the idea is you can borrow a book, but you can also take books that your child's perhaps outgrown, or you've got multiples. You don't read anymore. So it's just a really nice way of getting books for free and clearing out your house.
Yes.
My house is the worst for lots of books. Yeah. And I don't even buy them. I think they breed.
Yeah, I think they do.
So that was our 5 characters. And as I say, they all promote something different.
Yeah.
But the beauty of the programme is, within that, they're also getting masses of learning as well. Yeah. So things like you're sharing, talking with other children, playing with other children, coming to the front. So when I have my phonic fox bit, quite often they come over, and even 1-year-olds. So just lately, one of the exercises of a chat cat was a Jack in the Box, which I thought they'd be petrified with. They didn't flinch. They did not flinch. But I kind of had it in the front, and normally I'd walk round them with the parents, and they all came and sat with me, and they're 1-year-olds, and makes me feel a bit emotional when they kind of do that, because you think, oh my gosh, like, I'm not forcing them to come to the front. Yeah. They want to come to the front. Yeah. They all sit down. They're gonna, you know, when they go to school, they're going to be experts. They're going to be so confident. It's not going to be a scary environment. They're going to be familiar with that kind of setting, which is really nice. Yeah, it is. And I generally think the advantage of the Reading Fairy programme is parents learn with the child as well. And they also learn that not only like the phonics and sort of your performance skills and that sort of thing, that education isn't sit down at a paper and, you know, you don't move, you don't talk. It's fun, we're playing, we're laughing, we're, you know, we're being silly. That's how children have fun, they'll remember it more. Yeah,
that's it, and that's something that I always say when it comes to like reading is, like, I know with my eldest, when she was learning to read in school and stuff, it was a new thing of you've got to read 3 times a week and blah blah blah, and I understand all the basis behind that, but for me it's always been about, I want my girls to enjoy reading, so that they'll keep on doing it, and they'll want to read. It won't feel like it's, oh, we've got to,
like a chore. You want children to read for pleasure. Foster a love of reading. That's my tagline. Foster a love of reading. Because then they'll want to do it, and it's not a battle for you or them, to be honest. And reading just brings so much, doesn't it, for, like, you know, like your adventures. And that's it. There's a quote that I can't think of now, but it's something about, the more they read, the more places you'll go.
Something like that.
Like a Dr. Seuss one, it is, isn't it?
And it is just that escapism for a lot of people as well. That's it.
And I think sometimes we forget how valuable it is when we're out and about.
Yes.
So things like if you go on the bus, if you go on a train. We went to the zoo. So my daughter's just started school. She can read odd bits, but she was just excited. We went up to the monkey bit, and you go inside, and there was a big warning sign saying water sprays, something for the plants. I read it, didn't think to warn her. So they're just like, what's falling from the sky? And then you feel awful, and you think, gosh, because she isn't at that point where she's reading all the time, you know, it opens the world up, it explains the world. I saw something the other day on social media where you had to mark how many times you read during the day, and you kind of would perhaps think, oh, well, I might read a bit of book at bed, but I don't read. Social media, scrolling on, you're reading. Looking at a recipe, you're reading. You know, if your child's at school or nursery and you get those texts. All those texts. Emails. You're reading. I haven't actually done it, but I should. I think it'd be amazing how many times you actually read without.
Even like in the supermarket or, you know, in the shops or whatever.
That's it. There's not a lot you can do, to be fair. Without having to read.
I guess that's why it's so important to promote that to the children as well, isn't it? It's like, you know, at the end of the day, they do need to be able to read, and, you know, even just like out and about, the bins now have signs on for recycling to what, you know, more and more that print is having a meaning in the child's environment as well. So it's just, you know, if they want to do it and they're enjoying it, you're just giving them such a good start for life, you're setting the foundations, aren't you?
Definitely. And sort of school wise, when they come to do tests and that sort of thing, you could be really good at maths, but there's quite wordy maths problems. So rather than it just being the numbers, they'll put it into a sentence. And if you can read that, you know, you're going to score higher and academically, that sort of thing as well. So for life and for school, it's such a good skill to have and to want to do.
Yes, so. That's it.
So as I say, hopefully the full package, the Reading Fairy package. People always say to me, where's your Reading Fairy wings? I'm not the fairy personally. I'm just helping them along the way. But I think the magic is that the children come and think they're having fun. So the children probably won't think they've learned anything if you say to them. And I think that is the magic of Reading Fairy, that you come along, you have fun. You have fun with your parents. Because again, when you're busy at home, it doesn't always necessarily happen. You play together. So,
well, on that note, I've got a little something. I'm hoping that this is going to work on the mic. So my nephew does his, as you know, Reading Fairy sessions at nursery, and so we often have conversations about you when I see him, and he'll tell me what he's been up to. And so I thought, when I found out when we booked this in, I thought, I'm gonna ask him what he thinks of the Reading Fairy. So this is basically, he's obviously not been told what to say anything. I've literally said to him, what do you think about the Reading Fairy? So hopefully this is going to work. I'm going to play it. I've got 2 voice clips. Okay, let me turn that up. Bear with the listeners. Okay.
The Reading Fairy is brilliant.
The Reading Fairy is brilliant.
I like the Reading Fairy because they play. It's good when they play the Jack Cat talking.
Oh.
So there we go. That was his review on
And
the
I
Reading
love that
Fairy.
he said, you play. You
Yes.
play. You
Yeah.
play. Jack Cat.
Yeah.
And that is what the song says, talking and talking.
Talking.
So he's taking it all in there, bless him.
Yeah, so he absolutely loves it. And like as I mentioned to you before we started recording, when I told him that you were coming, he was like so excited. So, you know, it just proves that what you're doing it works and it's amazing.
That's it, yeah.
And what they think of the Reading Fairy.
Thank you very much. Thank you. There are Reading Fairies, I should say, across the UK. So if anyone's interested, if you go to www.readingfairy.com, you can find a class, put in your postcode. It'll tell you where your nearest sort of one is locally. And I know lots of us are getting ready for the Get Set for School, which is a slightly different programme.
Okay.
But again, parents and children together, or carers, you know, grandparents, whoever. We still have our 5 characters, we still play, but we look at things like the school day. What you might have at lunch, what you might wear when you're at school. Look at a workbook which has some super takeaway tips for at home as well. Things to talk about in the summer holidays. Yeah. Obviously, it's such a massive move.
It's a big transition, isn't it?
And things like, when we said about sounds in the environment, we'll hear perhaps what a school bell sounds like, what the dinner hall sounds like, because it's, you know, X number of children's a lot different than eating at home, that sort of thing. So it's just giving them the confidence when they go to school. So I know lots of people are sort of looking to do that in the summer term as well. So a full of starting school package.
Wow. Okay.
Thank you very much.
So thank you all for listening. If you have enjoyed this podcast, please share, follow and or review. And if there's any topics you'd like to see covered, please just let me know. You can get in touch with me by my email or my Facebook or Instagram page. Thank you, Kelly, for joining us and sharing your knowledge. I will post your links in the podcast description so that people can find you. Keep your eyes peeled for our next special episode.